Hello guys! Today I am bringing you a Halloween tradition. It should be basically is to paint yourself as Sally every single year. I did do one last year, of course no tutorial. So let's get into this one. I tested the color that I wanted for her skin. I mixed together a white and a blue, so that's what that dot is on my face. And I went ahead and did my eyebrows. And now I'm just tracing out her little patchy dress. I wanted to go for like a doll-like Sally. She is a rag doll, but I wanted to go more so into the doll effect. So I created a cute little dress for her. I am coloring in that collar piece. And I was going to do a regular bow tie, and then I was like, wait, Jack wears a bat bow tie, so this would be super cute and perfect just to add that on. So I am drawing and coloring in his little bat bow tie. Now I'm taking this turquoise color. The colors of her dress are turquoise, yellow, black, and pink, I do believe. So I'm coloring in some of the patches turquoise. I'm coloring some of them in I wanted more of a mauve-y kind of pink, not so hot pink. So I mixed together yellow and hot pink. And this was the color that I got. And some yellow patches as well. And then I just ended up doing some more pink ones. Like not so orangey, but straight up pink. And now I'm coloring on some of the designs. I know the pink ones have some swirls on them. The yellow ones, some have dots, some have stripes. And I think the turquoise ones are just left alone. So I just started filling in some of the designs, if any. The swirls, I just used red paint on top of that orange. Salmon color, whatever that color is. And then some dots on the yellow ones. And then I did the collar striped. I was just going to leave it at like pinstripes like Jack's suit, but I ended up shading it in a little bit, and I'll show you that here momentarily. Now I'm just outlining everything. I'm outlining the collar. And I'm outlining the patches on her dress. Outlining these patches will really separate them all and make them all look like they're sitting on top of each other, especially after shading. Now I'm going in and shading everything. I'm shading the collar so it looks like it's sitting on top of the dress. And I'm just using, depending on what patch I'm at, so for the turquoise areas, I'm using a blue to shade it. And then when I go in around the pinks, I use a dark berry color, so that way the shading looks more realistic. And then I'm also shading like the yellow ones with the brown. See, and I started shading this collar so it looks more like a frayed out collar than just like a flat surface. I'm just using brown for that. Then I get a little bat some of his features, the little white stripes he has on his white eyeballs. And now I'm going back in with more shading. I'm just starting with the colors, and then I go back in with black and really go right up against all those lines. Shading is one of the most important parts of a look, especially a look like this, where you have patches or you have a look that you want to be more dimensional. Shading everything honestly helps so much. It's crazy. I was looking at this after I was done and I was like, oh my god, this looks insane. Now I'm just doing the stitches. I'm just basically doing some curved lines and X's first, and then I'm going in where the stitches are going into the fabric, and I'm creating a little C shape right at the end of those stitches, as you can see right there. Just little ones, nothing too crazy. Now for the face, I mixed together white Snazaroo face paint and some blue from Wolfe Face Art and FX. And this is the color I wanted. I didn't want like a dark blue. I wanted a very faint blue color. She isn't dark blue if you look in the movie. She is a faint blue color, and I thought with some blue contouring that would really help bring the blue out. So just cover your whole face and parts of your arms as well. And I went ahead and went around the eyes a little bit, and now I'm applying some eyeshadow primer to my eyelids. And I'm going for just a blue-eyed look. I'm starting with like a turquoise, kind of like dark teal color, I guess you could say. And I'm using that as my transition color, and then I'm going back over it with the Urban Decay electric palette, the blue in that one. And I'm just I didn't cover my whole lid quite yet, but I ended up covering my whole lid towards the end of this. I'm just taking it into my crease very well right now, so it darkens it up. Now for the contouring, I'm using that same Urban Decay electric palette, and I'm taking that blue and I'm just contouring my cheeks. I'm making them very round, like a doll has. I'm just curving it. I already have huge cheeks. My cheeks are huge, seriously, and I just followed the curvature that's around my mouth, and I blended it out very well. Now I'm just contouring my forehead and my jawline, and I'm also contouring behind that bow tie so it looks like it's sitting on top of my skin. Contour your nose. Even if you feel like you don't need to contour your nose, I always like doing it because it brings color to the middle of your face. Now I'm taking NYX Cosmetics Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk, and I am creating those big doll-like eyes. I didn't want to create eyes like Sally has, like super cartoony. I wanted them to look very doll-like. So I'm just bringing them all the way down past my bags. I'm covering my bags in white, basically. And just make like a circular shape. You can make them as big or as small as you'd like to. You don't have to make them as big as I did. And then I'm just going to be taking some eyeshadow, and I am outlining those bags or those big doll-like eyes. And that way they'll stand out and they'll be separated from my skin tone. And I'm just starting with the teal color that we put in our transition. And then I'm going in with the Urban Decay blue, and I am just really getting in there and creating that shape. I also took black before I put the lashes on too. It just helps make these eyes stand out and pop out really well. Just add some more shading and some more colors until you feel like it's round enough. And make sure you set those white eyes. I just used white eyeshadow. Sally has some funky eyelashes going on, so I thought I'd just add those a little bit on the lid. I just used black paint to do this. And put on your falsies. The trick to fake eyelashes is making sure you double coat the ends and let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute. And I already went ahead and added them to the bottom. Now I'm highlighting my face. I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Moonchild Glow Kit, big surprise, and I'm using it in Blue Ice and Blue Moon to highlight my face. Now I'm taking Kat Von D's Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in Outlaw, and I'm creating these doll-like lips, so I'm not taking them all the way to the corners of my lips. I'm stopping. So they're really small and pouty looking. And then whatever's left, I just took some of that paint that we used for our face, and I covered up the rest of my lips. Creating her stitches, I'm just drawing out lines from the sides of her face, and then I'm just putting the stitches on her face just like we did on the dress, draw the stitches, draw the little marks of them going into the skin. Did the same for on top and underneath of the eye. Then I'm taking white paint. I also did this on the dress. You just take it on the very tops of the stitches, so it looks like light is casting down onto the stitches. How many times am I going to say stitches? And then I also took some eyeshadow and I just went right underneath of those stitches, just to give them some more definition and dimension. Now I'm taking some white paint and I'm just doing some little frills on the dress. Very simple, you just draw those little shapes. That's just about it. I wanted to do white so they stood out a little bit more. I also did it on the sides of her arms there. And then I'm drawing some little dots on my face for some freckles. And now I'm drawing stitches on my neck. Did the same thing for the face and the dress. I always add extra details at the very end. That's a good way to notice things. Now I'm drawing out the little mouth that like a doll would have for them to open their mouths, I guess, like an old school doll. I just took some black shadows and created the shapes that I wanted. Then I went with the black paint over that, and then I went back in with the black shadow just to give it some more dimension. And that's it, guys. A cute little Sally doll. I went with the general idea, but I added a little twist on my own. I didn't have a red wig, like a straight red wig, but I thought this blonde and red one was really cute and doll-like. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. Stay tuned for tomorrow's tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, as always, guys.